Video. Okay. Yep.
The first item is to receive apologies. Have we got any apologies?
No apologies for absence. No.
Okay. Item 2 then, declarations of interest. We all know the score. If there are any items on the agenda, please declare them. Public participation session. Any members of the public? No members of the public, which is fortunate as we can't get on our internet.
Yeah.
Item 4, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of March, 21 as a true record. You
Yeah,
have them.
Councillor Ratcliffe.
Councillor Ratcliffe proposed a seconder for that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Jamie, all in favour, please?
Oh, hang on, I'll go get me.
Go and get your tick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's your
That's
number.
8, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Items brought forward by the chairman. Have I got any of those?
I haven't.
I haven't got anything. Heather hasn't particularly either. So 6A is the payments listed. Can you give me a new list?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yours is over there, but you can have that one.
Was that the one circulated by Richard earlier?
It was, yeah.
Oh, in that case, I'll move those.
Okay, they've been moved. Is there any items that anyone would like to?
Yeah. I wondered, what were the lunches then? The 5 lunches.
That was the interviews for the market manager.
Right, okay, understood.
Thank you.
They were very nice too.
Wiltshire Farm Foods, were they?
Don't be
I'll
silly.
second the proposal.
Thank you. All in favour of accepting these, please show. That's 1, 2. That's unanimous again. Thank you.
Where's your tick, Dermot? We got a menu in the pack. What are you doing?
Okay, 6B on the agenda is to receive the internal auditors report, which you've in front of you. You can see there that David is very diligent once again in doing that. And I thank him on our behalf for doing that. Thank you, David.
You're very welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Would you like to move that we accept those?
Yes, please.
So
I'll
I'll
second.
second that from the chair. All in favour, please? That's unanimous again. Thank you. Right, this is probably one of the most important things here, to give 6C, to give consideration to the allocation of the non-earmarked funds and make a recommendation to council. Oh, that's our non-earmarked funds, of course it was. That wasn't.
Yeah, the non-earmarked
Yeah.
funds that were left over at the end of last year.
Right, so you can see on the figures, there's
69.
69,000 pounds left over from from the funds last year. So clearly we have there's the Easter Water path that that cuts through the Polyfield. That's going to be at least 20,000. That's going to have to come out of that fund. There are 1 or 2 other projects as well that again need to be funded. So I would suggest at this moment that we just allocate the whole amount back into the projects fund. And when those projects are completed, obviously we've then got sufficient funds to be able to, pay for whatever it is. If there are any surpluses at the end of the day, I will just briefly give you a heads up with regard to the maintenance team. You know what, we're in temporary accommodation now up at Clovelly Road industrial estate, and also in the sports ground. I will be bringing, hopefully at the next meeting, a notice of motion to be able to purchase a bit of land up at Clovelly Road industrial estate that up at Cadstown, we've identified. It's a lovely plot just up from the recycling centre, which is currently owned by Graham Blight of Country Cottage Bakery. I've spoken to Graham and he's more than happy to sell it to the town council for a very attractive price. It will mean obviously engage in, professionals to come up with a design for a building and car parking, etc. But what it basically does is it gives us a very firm foothold on exactly what it is we're trying to achieve here. At the moment, we've been at the mercy of Torridge District Council and allowing us to use the facility in the park, which obviously came to an end. So we need to build in some security here and something which is going to give us a firm foundation to build on, for the future, because I can see that, with the way things are going, we're going to be taking on more work from Torridge and from Devon County over the coming, years. I mean, our team has been 5 years in the making, and I think we've done very well up to now. But we clearly, we can't go on forever operating out of porta cabins or containers and things like that. So that'll be for the next meeting when I bring forward some more detail on that. But I was going to say, the earmark reserve for this year, if we put that into the projects fund, there may well be an element of that money that will need to be allocated to that fund as well, subject to obviously councillors' agreement of getting the go ahead to actually pursue this, because obviously it will mean, in addition to any funds we can put to it, it'll mean an application to the the loans board, what's they call it, the Public Works Loan Board, for a substantial sum to be able to develop what it is we want to do. And clearly we have the means to be able to repay that loan over a longer period. I don't know what it would be, 10 years or something like that. But as I say, more detail to follow on that. But we've got a couple of hands up. Jamie and David, you wanted to ask a question?
No, I was just thinking about the allocation of funds and stuff. Would it be prudent to put a sum of money back for any further COVID-related activities? Because, looking at India and various other places around the world and the way we're coming out of lockdown at the moment, there is the possibility of a further wave, even with our vaccinations, etc. So I didn't know if it'd be prudent to put back a little fighting fund for future COVID complications or implications.
Well, we still have some money left, I believe, in the COVID fund, don't we? A small amount.
All that fund gets zeroed at the end of the year, and that's where the earmarked, non-earmarked funds come from.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, we can certainly bear that in mind, Jamie. But I think if it all goes into the projects fund, if we needed to remove some of that money and put it into the COVID fund, we can certainly do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is that a proposal that you wish to make, Mr. Chairman?
Well, it is for the unallocated money, the 69,000, just to put it into the project funds, so that it's in a budget line for now. We can, as I said, we've got some projects underway which need to be funded from that, but we can, as long as it's in a project line, we can tap into it and move it around as we need to.
Well, you mentioned the PWL, and I'm sure the PWL interest rates are very, very small at the moment. So that would be a very good move. It would also be assets which would be handy for the town council to have.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also a base for the maintenance team. And as you rightly say, we're going to be finding ourselves in years to come. There's going to be more and more work being put onto the town council to carry out. So I think, yes, that's a good look into the future, and I would certainly support that. Yeah. If that's something you want to bring forward and recommend it to everybody.
Well, hopefully at the next meeting I'll have a firm proposal there. But at the moment we're just looking at the allocated 69,000. Are you happy that it's put in the project fund?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll propose that from the chair then. Any second to that? All in favour, please? That's unanimous. Thank you. Right, item 7. This is probably going to be a bit more controversial. The Welcome Back Fund from Torridge. I've just been talking to Heather about this, and Peter may have some further information on it, but it's quite a complicated setup in terms of how this money is actually administered. It's a very onerous thing for the town council to do, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm sure that we'll have to do it. but Torridge are sort of, you know, they're handing the money out to the parishes and saying, there it is, you're now responsible. And there's a whole host of things of hoops that you have to jump through. And for a small town council like ours, with the staff we've got, it is going to be a problem. Goodness knows how the likes of Norm are going to handle it, because they've got a far smaller staff than what we've got. But you know, it's the actual sum of money is not an inconsiderable sum. It's what was 129,000 a month.
61.
That's split between.
Councillor Christie's shaking his head. Maybe we should.
That's against shared between 4. But Councillor Christie was at the meeting, so I'll ask him to explain.
Yeah, there was a meeting earlier today. It's my 3rd Zoom meeting. My eyes are going slightly funny. There's £187,000 actually in the kitty, because there's money been rolled over from last year as well. It's got to be spent by the end of March next year. You can't spend it on any capital costs. It's all on revenue, which is very unusual. It isn't just about the high street anymore, as the first one was. It can be much broader than that. There's 2 new strands to it, which are actually identified on our agenda, I see. Firstly, promoting the public environment, and secondly, planning for new ideas, which is a bit odd, but anyway. There was a lot of material at the meeting and a whole list of possible ways you could spend it. I did ask one, which I think is the most vital question, is how much do we get? And is it done on a pro rata basis on population, or is it done on a first come, first served with the ideas? They're saying it's on a pro rata basis, but they haven't worked it out yet. And they're talking about Torridge wants to keep 60,000 for itself. And it's the other 127,000 that will be shared out. Now, if you divide that between Holsworthy, Torrington, Bideford and Northern, even on a pro rata basis, we get the most, but it isn't huge. But anyway, I'll go through some of the ideas that are thrown up. Day and nighttime marshals. Holsworthy are very keen on them, but Northern didn't want them at all. It was like that. Pop-up shops or shop uses for empty shops. Increase waste collections to tidy up the town. The money would go to Torridge for that. Play streets, this idea of closing off streets for playing. Temporary workspaces. Better signage to car parks. Temporary street closures for events, because, you know, Devon County charged for street closures. So you could spend the money to do that. Graffiti removal, planting of plants and stuff and trees. I did ask about the events. They can be new ones, or they can be old ones that need extra funding due to COVID. And I did ask, for example, about the bike show, about the water festival. And they said, well, if you've already put money aside to fund those, you can't use this new money to fund it, but you can give them some money if they need extra funding because of COVID, which I suspect they will. Other things that have been suggested were paying for guided tours of the town, street drama, street markets, free parking, but that's not allowed apparently, cleaning up grotty areas, and there was one that Holsworthy were pushing like mad. They want to employ a joint marketing officer to produce leaflets and stuff. And I thought, I wasn't too happy about that, but they were very keen to get it because they've got virtually no staff at Holsworthy.
Yeah.
So they wanted another staff member, basically. When you come up with these ideas, they've got to be signed off by Torridge. They won't just give you the money and say, get on with it. They've got to agree with it. Steve Hurst said that it seemed a bit weird seeing, as we all do our accounting as councils, we all, you know, everything's kept. It's not as though we're all going to divvy it up between us. But there's quite a lot of ideas put forward there, so I'll be quiet now.
So can I say, Peter, then, that, you know, whatever we decide, we decide amongst ourselves, and if Torridge give the go ahead, that's it. We're not expected to have any say on what Northern or Holsworthy do, are we?
Well, we're not, except that, as I said, Holsworthy, they're very keen on getting a joint marketing officer, which, if you think how much an officer costs, you know, you're talking 30, 35 grand a year.
You mean joint with the other authorities?
Well,
with other parishes?
I wasn't very impressed with that.
No. Who's that? That's Dermot, is it? Put his hand up. Dermot.
Well, it's in the order. So it's Councillor Craigie first.
Oh, yeah.
Then Councillor Hellier, then Councillor Mackenzie.
Yeah, you heard that. Fire away, Ruth, please.
Thanks. I was wondering when I looked at it, whether we could put it towards dog warden, because that's cleaning up the area, preparing for the visitors. It's a revenue item. Could even ask Northern if they would like to spend some of theirs on it and go ahead with it.
It's a good idea. Who else is that?
Councillor Hellier.
Linda, and then me.
I got a little list, but that dog warden was on it because we've talked about it before, and we talked about sharing it with someone and they didn't want to share with us, but I thought that would be good. I'm very keen on things that tidy up the area. So graffiti removal. I spent some time with Torridge's maintenance men when they were cleaning the graffiti in the play park up, trying to clean it off up where I live, and some little darlings gone and redone it all, coloured it all in where we couldn't get it right off. And it just drags an area down, you know, like Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York, says, you know, you let an area go downhill, you have broken windows, you have rubbish, then you get drug dealers and all that, and we've already got the drug dealers. So I'm keen on things that bring up the area, cleaning the streets, getting rid of the litter, all those things. I'm not keen on paying for the events, because they tend to be just one day thing, whereas if you spend it on cleaning up and tidying up the environment, you've got a year-round benefit. And then the other thing I didn't know, because it's would you be allowed to use it to tidy up any of the play parts? For example, the one at Tarker Point has never had anything done in the last 12 years. So, you know, the basketball nets are broken, the white lines have faded, nothing's done, and it won't be the only one like that. There'll be other tired things, you know, just to brighten it, because it is the whole town. It's not just the town centre, isn't it? It's the whole town. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure we could spend it, because probably spend it 10 times over.
Well, before you bring Peter in, I agree with you. I think, you know, we need to perhaps target the money on things that we would like to do ourselves that will be with us long term. So in other words, you know, the one-off events like, you know, parties in the park or whatever, they're fine. But once the money's spent, it's gone. I've got down here each of the entrances into town, you know, because if everybody from either direction, they could be far better than what they are. You know, we could do far more in the way of you know, floral planters, seasonal planters to brighten everything up. But in addition to that, we also need, which is going to come up at some point, we need additional staff. It's taken a member of staff 2 days to water all the plants that we've already got. So there will be something coming before you shortly, you know, to employ a seasonal worker. That job is just to go around you know, watering the plant. So if we've got a lot extra, clearly they will take an awful lot more maintenance for that to happen. And also, if you remember, we used to have lots of really brightly coloured welcome to Bideford banners on all the entrances to the town. Well, they've all gone because they were so badly faded. They've never been, you know, put back again. Well, possibly this money could be used for things of that nature. So all 4 entrances into the town could be improved dramatically, you know, with some really nice floral displays and the banners. But Peter, you wanted to say something first?
Yeah, the emphasis was on the town centres. They said that they might look at areas outside, but the whole thing about this is it's a welcome back to the town itself, to actually draw people into the town. And not being rude, but I'm not sure tackling play areas on the outskirts of the town would actually fall within the remit.
Yeah.
It is still very vague, and unfortunately they can't give you a definitive answer, but they said it is mainly the centres.
Well, it says that where they relate to the high street, so you're right, yeah. Yeah. Who else is there? Ruth, and then Linda again, yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to agree with you about the entrances to the town. We'd very much like in East Water to have a planter by our welcome to the town sign, the same as the other side's got. And
Yeah.
East Water and Bloom will probably plant them up, but it's the cost of getting the planter, you know, because they're made of stone, the ones on the west of the water, aren't they?
Yeah.
Quite big, substantial things. If we could get those made from by the fund, that would be great.
Well, I'd like to think we could, because I mean it's going to be related to the high street as you come into the town, possibly.
It makes it look better.
I think we could argue that point far easier, Linda, than we could, you know, potentially spending it on, you know, play parks around the area. I think we would struggle with that one. But
Yeah,
who else?
I take on board that about the play parks. I
Yeah.
thought of something, and I agree about the planters. If we could do what Northam do, you know, Northam's got the boats
Yeah.
planted out, and so has Fremington, and Northam at every entrance has got lovely planters on their thing, and so has Fremington. And Insto's got all their verges really planted out beautifully.
Yeah.
But the other thing I thought of, Devon County does not do this anymore, so nobody does it. It's washing the signs. All the street, they're not ours, they're in North Devon. But if you come off the link road to come down to East the Water, they're actually in North Devon. But every day it does my head in because they're green.
Yeah.
But it's too dangerous to stop. You know, if I thought it was safe to park, I'd park with and get a little mop out and clean them myself. But that's something that makes the town look run down.
It does. I couldn't agree more.
Things, the rubbish and the graffiti and all of that, it drags the town down.
So it sounds like we're getting towards a consensus where, you know, we would really like to see, you know, some of this money, if not all of it, spent on all areas around the town, leading into the town centre. That you know, help to bring the town up and really brighten it through the summer season. And obviously then that will then be with us for future years to be able to tap into again, because once you've got over the big expenditure of installing it, it's a matter then of just each year replanting them. Somebody who had their hand up, was it? Dermot, was it? Yeah.
Dermot did, but he's taken it down.
Yeah, Dermot, you had your hand up, it's disappeared. Did you?
No, Mr. Chairman, no, I'll pass. There's no point in going over stuff that's already been said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Christie.
Yes, Peter next, please, and then Ruth.
Yeah, these are all great ideas, but I don't think they're going to cost that much, actually. I think we might have a bit of money left over. I was wondering if we shouldn't do a special couple of occasions in the Pannier Market and offer free stalls to anyone who wants to come, because people would like to try it and at no expense. We might get some permanent stall holders out of it.
Yeah.
And also it would attract people in. The old boot sales used to. I'm not saying they're going to be boot sales, but we could actually then pay the town council for the use of the Pannier Market. That would go into the market coffers, and we'd keep the money as well as perhaps expanding the market trading.
I like your way of thinking. That's Dermot, is it?
No, Jamie.
Oh, yes, Jamie.
Yeah, we already offer some free tables in the market to encourage people to come. But yeah, I quite like the sound of that. I think it's quite a good idea to put on some events in the market. Obviously, we can get Chris Farris involved in that. I mean, that's his job now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite a good idea. Would we be able to, I suppose it would be capital, wouldn't it, renovating the outside of the market a little bit, because it looks like a prison, or even because I want to put get Rob Patterson to put some stained glass into the Pannier Market in the windows there, but that would be capital as well, wouldn't it?
That probably would be, but I mean, there's no reason why we can't have a nice an event, you know, well organized, to invite, you know. I mean, we did talk about, you know, having something in the pannier market, you know, fairly recently that had to be cancelled, where we were going to put on, you know, like a bit of a party in the pannier market with a buffet, etc., and invite, you know, a lot of locals up. I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't have entertainment in there and have a, you know, a real showcase event.
NABMA and sort of like some of the conference we've been to, perhaps we should put on a youth event, because, you know, obviously the youth is the future, and if we haven't got any youthful traders, they, you know, once the older ones die off, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. So, you know, perhaps a youth event, you know, like a welcome back event, you know, sort of some sort of like you say, some sort of party atmosphere going on. There's endless possibilities for the market, but we run all the Paris.
The only word of caution that I've got is that apparently we've only got 2 weeks to get this organised.
2 weeks to get, I think, from what Councillor Christie said, 2 weeks to get your ideas in and agreed with Torridge.
Yeah.
And then till March to spend them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I mean, you've got 2 weeks to get all this pulled together, you know, in a form that we can submit it to Torridge for a bid for the money. So, you know, if we're going to do these things, we got to, you know, we got to crack on and get, you know, get things actually in print and get it done, haven't we?
I think what you'll need to do tonight.
Oh, sorry. Could the tourism committee make use of any of this money? Because there are events that still going on in the town, and they probably might need some extra bits and bobs, or we could invent them.
It may well be, but what I'm saying is, whatever ideas we've got, whatever project it is, they've got to be written up in a way and costed so that we can put it to Torridge to be able to, you know, bid for the money. So, you know, what I'm saying is, we can't think about it now and wait for the next meetings. It's got to be done fairly quickly.
So I think what we'll need to do tonight is agree on 3 or 4 ideas, or however many, make a recommendation to full council. These minutes I'll do them tomorrow and email them out to everybody so that it can be fully agreed at full council, and then we'll need to get the ideas costed and off to Torridge. That's the only way we're going to do it.
So it sounds like we're all agreed on at least 1 or 2 things here. The entrances to the towns, if we can do this, you know, with some really high class planters, not, you know, nothing, you know, tacky or anything, but something, because it's going to be with us for a long, long time, and we'll be adopting them and using them every year. Something that's going to be, you know, a bit of a bold statement on the entrances to the town with a lot of colour, and possibly, you know, the welcome back banners. Would you think we'd be able to?
No, they wouldn't let them go on the lamppost.
Oh, yeah, of course they won't. Yeah. Sorry, scratch that. Devon County Council won't let us put them on the lamppost. Sorry.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I was going to add the bus shelters to the list of things that need cleaning, but I was thinking this seasonal worker, could we not apply to have a full-time seasonal worker as part from, you know, from the fund?
Well, we could certainly pay for it this year out of this fund, because it would be, you know, it would be a one-off appointment for this.
Yeah, well, it would be revenue.
How successful it was during the course of the year. I mean, if it proved to be really, you know, the right person, etc., then we could look then to keeping them on or re-employing them again next year directly.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just thought if we could get someone else to pay for it, would be great.
We certainly can for this year out of this month.
It would also mean that your project, that form that you've got to fill in, would be fairly simple, because you could just put it down as a seasonal worker. Yeah. And you could just list the jobs that you want the seasonal worker to do.
Yeah.
And cost it out, and I would have thought we would get that.
Would that be for watering and clearing up grot spots?
Yeah. Watering, clearing up grot spots, cleaning the signs off, as Linda's indicated, all things of that nature.
Yeah.
Could also have money towards training that said person if we wanted them to work on, you know, put them through all the training like our maintenance guys have been through.
Well, they'd have to be chapter 8 trained to work on the roads and keying the signs and stuff like that. But yeah, all of that ideas. good ideas.
Would they need to, a vehicle?
Well, we've got a vehicle, haven't we? But, you know, if need be, you know, we could supply something, even if we had to hire one in for a little while to do something. Yeah, that money would pay for things like that. So yes, we could certainly do that. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't let you pay for a vehicle because that would be capital, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
But in terms of, you know, hiring one in, yeah, that could work. Jamie?
Yeah, could we also get Chris Farris in on this? Because he's the ideas man that we've brought in to sort of like save the market, and he's also an officer in the town council 1 day a week. I'm sure he'll have some great ideas to put forward to this. You know, he's obviously not at this meeting, but I think he could come up with some great ideas.
Well, he did attend the meeting in Heather's place along with Peter this afternoon where this was discussed. So he's already got a heads up, and Heather's already said that he would be the one that would be driving it forward. So yeah, you're right.
Brilliant.
Any other suggestions? I mean, if you go away and you think of anything else that, you know, you can add to the list, then, you know, just let Heather know and we can crack on with this. In the meantime, I'll do it from my perspective, talking to Andy and you know, the team to see, you know, likely sightings and you know, where we can put these things around the entrances to the towns and indeed in the town. You know, but as I say, anything else that you think that would be appropriate, then, you know, don't hesitate to let Heather know, because obviously, you know, this money is, it's not a massive amount, but it's not an inconsiderable sum either. You know, and if it's offered, we've got to try and grab it with both hands and make good use of it.
So can we just clarify what the recommendation to full council is? Because we'll need to make the recommendation to full council.
Well, the recommendation is that whatever money is available from this fund, we certainly want the Bideford share of it, you know, in full, and that we will come up with a range of packages to actually spend that money on, which is going to meet the criteria set down in the legislation.
But I think we have to get, Councillor Christie will put me right, but I think we have to get the ideas to Torridge within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that's what we can put in the minutes. But the ideas, we've briefly outlined some ideas now, but obviously that needs firming up. So each of us now will have to come back with some firm ideas within the next day or two that Heather can get off to Torridge.
Well, it'll need to be a recommendation to full council. So the way I thought you were going was that the two main things would be to tidy up the entrances to the town with nice planters, and employ a seasonal worker who can do the grot spots, he can do
sign cleaning,
do all the watering, because I think we need some firm proposals so that I've got something firm to give to Torridge.
All right. That person then, could that person be included as the dog warden as well?
I think that's quite a wide remit.
Right.
Can I just come in there and say, I'd be very careful about appointing a dog warden or having a season one, because if he works really well, and dog wardens have never succeeded, to be honest, because they can never catch people. You know, it's very difficult. But if he did succeed, and I hope he would, you'd have enormous pressure next year to pay for it out of the town council rather than just a one-off. But going back to, I have to go back to the town centre aspect of this, because at the moment we're talking all about on the outskirts of the town. All right, we can wash the signs. I think that's a good idea from Linda. We can go for the planters. I think that would fit the remit actually, because that would attract people into the town. But I'm sorry to go back to it, but I would like to push the market, because it's the one thing in the centre of the town that we're talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly including the pannier market in whatever we do, Peter. That was a really good idea, and I think it's you know, it could be really, really you know, advantageous for locals and visitors alike. We get time in the, you know, in the summer.
The recommendation.
Yeah, so that'll go in the recommendation as well. Jamie?
Could we use this money to tidy up the wall coming in by Morrison's? Because we had a thing about painting it the other day, turned down the money. could we not employ a street artist to build to put a mural right along the whole way, you know, depicting the history of Bideford, the Bideford Bridge, anything like that, 'cause that kills two birds with one stone and not cost us a penny.
Well, it's certainly a thought. The last type of mural we had was those little seagulls that were.
That
dozens
was
of
a
seagulls.
mural, just an afterthought on a blank wall. No, a proper mural, something that tells a story.
Well, that's a possibility. And if we can find the right kind of artist that could do that, it's certainly a possibility. So if you know anyone like that, please put them forward. But in the meantime, you know, you've mentioned the wall. I completely forgot the wall. We did decide not to spend the money on that, on doing the wall, because obviously it was about 900 quid worth of paint that we required, plus the time to do it. But even if we don't do a mural, we can certainly get the wall painted a nice colour.
Okay, so
Well, I think something attractive like a mural would be sort of like a massive talking point. It would cause a lot of stir in media. You know, you could even get the you know, but especially if it told a story, you know, it's going to be an attraction as well as a, you know, something new without grotty wall.
I do agree with what you're saying in one way. On the other hand, I'm remembering what Linda was talking about earlier about cleaning up graffiti. And I'm not saying that a mural is graffiti, but there are a lot of people that would draw comparisons between the two and think they can paint murals on anything, you know, Councillor Corf included.
I don't think she'd stand still long enough to be painted.
Councillor Hellier's got a hand up.
Yes, Linda?
Yeah, I like the idea of the wall. The mural thing, wouldn't you need, I keep thinking of Stan and Hilda Ogden, they had a Muriel, didn't they? If anyone who watched Coronation Street 50 years ago. Yeah, wouldn't you need planning permission like Kay did, for only she didn't?
Yeah, you would, I think, yeah.
Would. Oh, actually, I disagree with Jamie about the seagulls, because I painted one of those because I was volunteering with Carewise at the time. And so the artist did, well, some people had painted the wall, and then the artist drew the seagulls, and then, like I was with a child, they filled it in, like colouring, and then the artist went round afterwards and did the tidying up, you know, did the beak and the eye and that. And I used to, when I was coming out of Morrison's, it used to be Safeway in those days, I think. I say, oh, that's my seagull. I think, but you could have an event like that and involve local organisations.
Right.
Well, I don't like these modern things like that thing that Kay had.
I wasn't suggesting that. I've seen some amazing street art and things that else, you know.
Yeah, I think you would need planning permission for it, Jamie, and it would probably hold things up. But I'm glad you mentioned the wall, because whatever you do, you got to have the base wall painted first of all, because it's pretty scabby as it is. So
if it's just a, you wouldn't need planning permission, because there's no instruction there, wasn't it? It was not a, as long as it's not an advertisement or an instruction, then it's absolutely fine. So it would fit in possibly with a skate park. You know, there's all sorts of things in that area that you could separate in picture form.
If you remember the last time when we discussed about having the wall done, I mean, our guys had to, I mean, you almost needed a road closure there, because you're working on the pavement. People then have got to walk outside of you down the road. So it involved barriers and all. It was quite problematic for us just to paint the wall. So what it would be like for a group of, you know, youngsters or whoever doing it. I admire the idea. I haven't got a problem with it. How we can actually bring it into reality, I don't know, but I'm not going to dismiss it, certainly. But in the first instance, clearly the wall needs painting, and we'll get that included on that. If you can come up with someone, you know, who's got a good design, well, we can pursue that. Donna, you got your hand up there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The idea of the wall and the murals, and I like that concept, but I'd like to see it done by the schools within the area. So the children do sections of the wall each, and their view on Bideford, how they see Bideford go. Youth, and the easier so for the traffic, because obviously you don't need to put barriers in place. You just put a sign saying footpath closed, and there's at that point there where you start at the top of it, they can cross along the road. As long as we got the town council there with their vehicles in place, we'd safeguard them as well. It's just nice PR for Bideford Town Council, whoever the new mayor's going to be. Be a nice initiative for them to get him or her to get behind it, push it forward and tidying the town up. I just think it's nice to involve the children and saying, like Jamie alluded to earlier on, but they're the youth going forward. I would like to see the street marshals used for the summer period. If Mr. Christie said we get money that way, this way we can work in with what Janet Williams put in. Is it the PSPO?
Yeah.
She put through. I mean, that coincide with that easy. And we can start tidying it out that side of the level and start letting know some of the retrobates then, or the undesirables. Start letting them know, look, we're on top of this now. Now we have this legislation in place. We're ready for this. We're tidying our town up. As a town council, we start pushing it forward. I think to me, it's really good.
Yeah, we could do that. I would just remind you, a few years back when the wall was painted, there was the suggestion put forward, I think it was by Councillor Brenton, about using Bideford College pupils to actually paint the wall. And when it was looked into from a health and safety point of view, having youngsters on the edge of the road was deemed a no-no, even if you had barriers there. And then another idea, which Councillor Brenton brought forward, was to get 8x4 sheets of ply or something like that, that they could paint in school and then come and attach it to the wall. But again, because of the complexities of all that sort of fell by the wayside. Again, I like the thought of involving the youngsters, but if it was in the skate park or something like that, it's not a problem. But I think on the edge of that road, I don't think Devon County would even allow it personally. But who's got their hand up first? Is it Councillor Christie or Linda? Linda first, and then Peter.
I was going to say, with the street marshals, I mean, Alison Hernandez gave some street marshals, didn't she? Westwood O had them last year. I mean, I was thought that we could make a case to ask the Police and Crime Commissioner, as we're a holiday destination and the population increases, for some street marshals.
Yeah, good idea. But we could use, as Dermot said, we could use some of this money to potentially fund one for the summer season anyway. I'm straining to see, but Councillor Christie, yeah, Peter.
Actually, I think I forgot what I was going to say. I've been waiting. I'm just trying to think. It was what was it? No, it's gone. I have to come back. Sorry.
Was it about the wall or the panels on the wall?
It was something about the wall, and I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, actually, it was something Councillor McGough said. I've been writing stuff down here, and I haven't written down what I was going to say. Councillor McGough, you brought up something about. I can't remember what it was now.
The street marshals?
No.
Right,
So,
okay.
it'll
come to you in the fullness of time.
What was it to do with Janet Williams, what we just passed on Torridge?
Yes. So, thank you very much. Yes. Yes. Councillor Langford was at the meeting this morning as well, and she had suggested dealing with our street problem people, the drunks and so on. And she was very keen to try and set up a sort of place they could go to. I'm not quite, it was a bit vague, but I thought, I did say I would bring it up tonight. So she did suggest that. But the problem with that is wherever you put them, there's going to be a problem that might tie in with the street marshal.
Mm. Well, when the pub's open again, there's one on the quay, and it's called the King's Arms.
It's open.
Well, only outside. We don't want them outside. Yeah. Linda?
That's, but following on from what Peter said, that's been brought up before about having somewhere for the street drinkers to go. Rachel Raper used to talk about that with, I don't know if we still have one, Bideford, but it appears to have disappeared, doesn't it? But used to talk about having that and having somewhere for them to go. And the other thing was the police used to try and encourage them to go down the far end of the park, didn't they, out by Chanters Way? I don't think the people live in Chanters Way.
Cricket pavilion.
By the cricket pavilion, yeah. To go there. I think there's something that needs sorting out, because I find it very off-putting when they sit by that on the table by the children's paddling pool in the park, and quite off-putting when they're gathered en masse on the river walk. And I don't like the look of Jubilee Square when it's just populated by people sitting with a can or a bottle either. So I think if you can organise that these are sort of, no, presumably a new order has brought in this no alcohol like it used to be. I don't know.
No, it's not no alcohol, it's antisocial behaviour
Right.
with based on alcohol use. So it's not an alcohol-free zone. Janet Williams does go to great lengths to make that point, because if it's an alcohol-free zone, any legitimate users, say having a drink down at the park, having whatever, a picnic, they wouldn't be able to do that either. So
we used to talk about that a bit of a town partnership, but
we did.
but then the police say, well, they're not actually doing anything, and if they're just there. They're not being antisocial. So then you haven't got much further, have you?
Well, the wording is very specific in there now, apparently.
Right. Well, I don't think that many people ordinary people have alcohol in the park.
No, they don't. So, I mean, if you've got those drinkers on Jubilee Square, for example, and there's a gathering and they've got the dogs, etc., if it's deemed to be intimidating, they can be asked to move on. If they refuse, there is a fine, and they can have their drinks confiscated. That's the difference, I think. So they have to deem it as antisocial behaviour.
Am I adding this to the list?
No, not at the moment anyway. So I think the warden, there's some mileage in that, but clearly they would have to work under the guidance of Torres Sister Council's enforcement officers, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
If they're going to be effective. Dermot, you've got your hand up.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. Just touch back on what Linda raised. It's for intoxicating substances as well. So that's one of the main practices in the town, which we can actually start enforcing now, you see. So this is paramount for us going forward as a town council. Can I just ask a question as well, please, about the planters going on the entrance in the town? How big are the planters? And east of Waterside, where would they go?
Well,
Because
that's what needs looking at.
Oh, can I finish, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Obviously, because the developer from Brunswick Wharf is going to give the garden areas back to people once it's completed. And, we don't want to take any more space on the pavements going forward, and any distractions for pedestrians having to cross out over that side of the road. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but these planters, look at the old town at the moment, it didn't go down very well for the town councils, did they? A lot of people kicked up a fuss about these planters going there. And it's my personal belief at the old town that those planters shouldn't have gone there. We should have had the pull-in bays for parking up there. That'd be a lot safer for everybody. I actually having bays to pull in to use the Happy Shop, the shop and the post office at the time, because it's quite a popular destination to nip in and out. And unfortunately, circumstances change for Happy Shopper, and I believe the post office still going there. Just a safety aspect of things, really. And we had a lot of negative feedback about planters. The concept was a great idea. We're trying to tidy our town up. Anything that's going to brighten Bideford up, I'm in to support. But what Councillor Chris has already told us, it has to be in the town centre itself. So, but what I'd like is, if we could put forward, Mr. Chairman, is all-inclusivity, really, of the councillors. Quick email out to everybody to get some ideas back from the councillors. We do represent the town council. I know this is staffing and finance, but it's quite a big decision. We all could have a little bit of input quickly, then we could bounce back many ideas, and then maybe select the best.
I think that's that email's already gone out asking for comments and ideas, etc.
That's where Councillor Langford brought her idea forward as a result of that email.
But
because we need a recommendation tonight, otherwise we're not gonna have one away.
Right. So that's Linda.
Coming back to Dermot, I'm not thinking planters like those ones up Old Town. Go into Westward Ho, go into the top of Westward Ho off the Atlantic Highway. They've got lovely planters that are around their sign, around the welcome to Westward Ho, and around to welcome to Northam, or Instow or Fremington. So they're not great. They're sort of purpose made. They must fit onto the sign without obscuring the sign. but they're always planted up. They're really pretty. So that's what I had in mind. Not anything on the pavements. This is at your town entrance to draw people in, to make it, oh, Bideford looks a nice place, rather than, oh, Bideford looks a bit of a dump, you know, so we want people to come in.
Yeah. It could even be the actual signs themselves, because signs are quite expensive, and you can get a basic, you know, Bideford sign, or you can get something which is, you know, really, really attractive, nicely shaped, nicely manufactured, etc. I know that would take time, but you know.
You've already got the gateway signs as you come in to Bideford, because you've got the twinned with Land Divisional, etc.
Yeah.
I'm definitely all for the
White
flowers,
town.
all for the flowers.
Yeah, just an ordinary one. Like I paid for one out at Monkley because a lorry kept hitting it. Just an ordinary ugly sign that just says Bideford. That costs £600.
Yeah.
So the other ones cost, but you've already got the gateway signs. We've got them east of the water as well.
We could have lovely ornate ones with the little white town on it.
They already say that.
Especially in 3D flashing neon bright lights.
Right. I wish I never started that, but all right. So we need some kind of recommendation. Heather's, you know, she needs to get something written down. So
I've written down these 5 areas that you've all talked about.
yeah, just read them out again.
Yeah,
I
okay.
can't see them
So
properly.
for the recommendation for the key areas, which will go as a recommendation to full council, so that the entrances to the town are you know, tidied up and provided with nice planters. A seasonal worker is employed to water and to clean signs and clear up grot spots within the town. There'll be a couple of special occasions in the pannier market where people are able to try, you know, have stalls at no expense. That the Kingsley Wall is painted and possibly a mural is put on it, depending on costs and whatever. And a summer street marshal is employed. No,
Dermot, you got your hand up?
it's Jamie.
Oh, it's Jamie, sorry.
I don't look like Dermot.
Well, you do from here. I'm sharing Heather's iPad and or computer. And,
No. I was just going to say, could this money be used for promotional use? You know, so that we can sort of like get out into the wider area and promote Bideford on a wider scene. You know, it's like advertising type effort.
well, as Peter says, it's meant to be town centre based, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Can I
attracting people to the town, isn't it? So
I just come in there. This is what Holsworthy are very keen on, employing a joint marketing person about, you know, so he could draw up the leaflets and do all that. But you then have to think, well, how are you going to get them out?
you just put them out with the post office.
Well, yes, but who do you post them to?
Certain areas in the locality, X39, whatever.
We don't want them because you already got them anyway.
Well, you know, it's just destroying. It's not just visitors you want, is it? It's the locals as well. You want to get back into the town.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hard work getting people back into the town, I think, because a lot of people, they've not been in there for a long time, and it's going to take something special to start, you know, get their confidence back.
I mean, you tried to sometime last year. We talked about a Christmas German type market. Is there anything like that we can book that could come into the town? You know, for a weekend or anything like that? Are there people out there that offer that type of facility? You know, obviously at a cost, but you know.
I'll have a chat with Chris Farris.
You know, there may well be.
Yeah.
We could then, you know, have something all the way along the quay, say the space that the bike show takes up, but have it as a, you know, particular, you know, themed, you know, event in the summer.
It'll be spent by next March. So I
Got to be spent by next March.
think that's what.
Well, yeah, if we got it in this summer, then
summer.
this summer, yeah. It's a bit late now, but you know. Sorry, Linda, have you got your hand up there?
Yeah, I'm not keen on Jamie's idea of the advertising. I think it'd be a waste of money. You can get free advertising in the Gazette and the Journal because they're short of articles, and you can do it on Facebook. I do like what you said about the German market. What about having a winter
Mhm.
festival and trying to get an ice skating rink or something in the park? You know, I don't know, just call it a winter festival or something.
But Heather says the money has to be spent by March. So does that mean?
Well, if you did it this winter, if you did it in the winter months,
Oh, yeah, of course, March is really
that
cold.
would be locals coming, wouldn't it? Because holiday makers would be here. But
Could have
that's just an
Christmas
idea.
July.
They do it in cities, don't they?
Yeah,
You have the ice skating rink.
yeah, that's a good point. Good, you know, that's a good idea. Even if you had it on
So you want me to add
Jubilee Square, would be big enough. I suppose it wouldn't be, would it?
ice skating rink?
Yeah,
We've got to have somebody who can deliver all these events as well.
exactly. Yeah.
So I
Chris
think we
Harris.
need to stop now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've got a substantial list, and the money is not going to go that far to do all of these things. I wouldn't have thought so. Those are good ideas, but we'll include that last one, Linda, because I think that has some merit in the winter, doesn't it?
It all sounds very touristy. I think Jude should do it.
Well,
So that's 6 ideas now.
yeah. So that's 6 ideas. I think that's
I think that's,
yeah. That's probably enough, because otherwise it's going to be get too unwieldy and unmanageable. You all happy with what we've put forward so far? Then I'll propose it from the chair. Looks like Jamie seconded it. All in favour then? That's pretty well unanimous. Thank you for that. Right, anything else? Right, over the page N8, you've got a relatively short list of work done by the operatives maintenance team, because obviously they've had a lot to do with moving out of our temporary base into even more temporary bases.
we were going to mention the possibility of hiring a member of staff for the watering.
Yeah.
Because it's now taking 2 days a week for one member of staff to do all the watering. But shall we just wait and see whether these ideas get agreed? I can always bring it back if not.
Well, I think even if, if we can get that member of staff paid for out of this fund, so much the better. But even if we can't, we've still got to have this person, because it's taking 2 days a week, 2.5 days in reality, out of one member of our team currently. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So is that a proposal?
Well, I'll propose that, from the chair. Anyone would like to second that?
Yeah,
That's Ruth. All in favour of doing that then? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item 9. Any?
Councillor Mrs.
Can I
Sorry.
just ask about something on that jobs list?
Yeah, sure.
It's on the back, jobs pending, weed clearance Pill Hill, don't know what I mean. Only 3/4 complete, where road has been resurfaced, not completed, right on corner, waiting for DCC to clear the corner. Don't know where they're talking about.
It's Pit Hill.
Yeah, I think it's
Hill.
Councillor
Yeah.
What corner are they waiting for them to clear then?
Harris, I think.
They mean Pit Lane?
Pit Lane, yeah. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know. I haven't got anything on the back of mine.
Oh, well, there isn't anything happening in Pit Lane.
I've got another one here. Yeah.
I've been down it quite a bit lately.
And weed clearance Pit Hill.
But yeah, but I think they mean Pit Lane.
So,
So top of the high street, turn right, go down to the coal merchants.
Yeah.
yeah, that's where
Well, there's nothing happening there. So I don't know what they're waiting for DCC to clear the corner. Clean the corner of what? That was all. That's my question.
I'll find out. I'll find
Yeah.
out that. We'll ask the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. There are no other questions on that. Part 2 is.
yes, there is.
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, can I just come in there about the bottom of Pit Hill? There are some road signs up. I'm not sure what they refer to. They've been there for some time, actually. They're at the entrance to Westcombe if you go down there. And they refer to the corner there, but I don't know quite what they're doing.
I don't know what they're doing there. I've been down Westcombe recently as well, but I didn't know. I obviously didn't register them. I don't know. I've got no idea. Sorry.
We'll find out anyway.
We need to move into part two.
There is a staff matter, is there? Okay, propose from the chair then that we move into part two because we have a staffing issue to discuss.
Second that.
All in favour? Jamie,
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
thank you.